Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Julie. Welcome to Chicory's Travels.
Before 2017 comes to an end, we wanted to look back and share our favorite campgrounds and adventures from 2017.
So we have previously mentioned that we are working full-time while we're living and traveling in our RV. Sean's job also requires him to travel quite a bit via airlines and staying in hotels, and I often, but not always, accompany him. So over the last year, we have stayed in 10 different states, 10 different campgrounds, and 7 different hotels. And the reason why it's only 10 different campgrounds is we like to take our time and travel slowly, because if we are flying from an area for a few weeks, we want to be able to stay in the campground also for longer than a few weeks, usually a couple months, and try to enjoy it a little bit.
So where did we stay? We stayed in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Bass Lake in Dillon, South Carolina, Lazy Days in Tampa, MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Forest Lake RV Resort in Zephyr Hills, Florida, Jonathan Dickinson State Park in Jupiter, Florida, Grassy Pond Campground on Moody Air Force Base in Georgia, Auburn RV Park in Auburn, Alabama, Midway RV Park in Millington, Tennessee, Fort Wilderness in Kissimmee, Florida, and Patrick Air Force Base in Cocoa Beach, Florida.
So first I'll say what my top 2 of those campgrounds were, and then you can share your top 2.
Okay.
So first I'll say my number 2 was Jonathan Dickinson State Park. And it was actually our first Florida state park. And actually our only state park of 2017, Florida State Park of 2017, and I loved it. Huge sites, lots of activities. There was hiking, biking, kayaking. There was an observation tower. It was only 9 minutes from this amazing beach area that was called Blowing Rocks Preserves, where they actually had limestone cliffs, which is not huge cliffs, but still cliffs, not something you think about in Florida. And it was a little hot the time of year we were there. When were we there? Like in August?
August, yeah.
Yeah.
September, maybe.
And the only bad thing about the campground was that we had to leave early. We had booked for the 2 full weeks that Florida State Parks allows you to make a reservation for, and we had to leave after only 5 days because Hurricane Irma was barreling down towards us. You want to say your number 2?
So my number 2 was MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. I like it because it's right outside of the city of Tampa, and it's at the southernmost point of the peninsula, and so you're right on Tampa Bay. So the campground is at the very end, and you're surrounded by water, and there's a lot to do in the city of Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater. Lots of good museums, including the Salvador Dali Museum, which is really good. And we have a lot of friends there still, so it's always nice to go.
And my number 1 was Fort Wilderness, which is Disney World's campground in Orlando or Kissimmee, Florida. And wow, what an amazing campground. It has like 800 sites. As a matter of fact, I'll put a link. You can see our campground review. It had 2 pools. One of them is really large with a water slide, hot tubs. You get free transportation to all the Disney parks. People decorate their sites. There's just restaurants, shows, and then that's all right there in the campground. There's even a lot of free activities that we write about and have in that video. So I'll put a link to that.
And my number 1 was Fort Belvoir, Virginia. It's a newer military campground right just south of Washington, D.C. And we have family in Washington, D.C., so it's nice to stay up there and be close to them. And then also my primary work location is just north of Washington, D.C., so it's an easy commute for times that I have to be there to be in the office. And it's Washington, D.C., so lots of free museums, all the Smithsonian museums, lots of cultural attractions, lots of good food, just an overall good place to stay temporarily.
So favorite locations with a hotel stay, and while we were at these places we also did drive by some campgrounds because our favorites we're going to go back to with the RV, and we kind of have pegged where we want to stay. But we were there in hotels, mostly in two of the, we're going to give you three, in two of them because obligations that Sean had, one for work, one for school, and then the third was vacation. So number one, Sean was working, I was playing Weeki Wachee, Florida. It's on what's called the nature coast of Florida. It is along the Gulf, but it's a very marshy area. It's not like big sandy beaches like you have down near St. Petersburg, Clearwater Beach, or even up in the Panhandle. But it's a beautiful location. There, the Weeki Wachee River is a spring-fed river that you can just float down on a kayak. It's absolutely gorgeous. Manatees come up in there. I wasn't there at the time of the year when there's a lot of manatees, but there was one that came right up alongside the kayak.
And it's perfectly clear water.
Homosassa Springs State Park is right there, and they have, I don't really want to call it a zoo exactly because it's not like cages, but there are animal habitats, and they take animals that have been injured in the wild and they rehabilitate them, and when they can, they release them back into the wild. And if their injuries are so significant that they're never going to be able to survive in the wild, then they keep them there at their wildlife center for people to come and see and enjoy. Number two was Mesa, Arizona, and we were there because Sean graduated. First, we went to Mesa, Arizona last year.
2 years ago.
Or 2 years ago for a residency that he had for school, and then this year we went back when Sean graduated with his doctorate in health science. I'm super proud of him, in case you can't tell. Good job, babe.
Thank you.
But we loved the area. And the other thing that we did when we were there is Sean drove us, not in the RV, do not take an RV, I don't even think you can, I think there's signs. It's called the Apache Trail, and it's like the scariest, coolest, prettiest drive I've ever been on, but it's extremely windy. How fast? You go like 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, a little faster, but it's an old wagon trail from the Wild West days. So
dirt road.
It was neat. It wasn't as scary as she makes it out to be.
It was scary.
But there's little stops along the way and a nice big scenic loop back to Phoenix.
The number one place that we stayed in a hotel, we just did a video on last week, and that's
Las Vegas. That's our favorite place, probably ever. We go back there every year. We really enjoy both the Strip and then all the stuff outside of Las Vegas, like Death Valley, Red Rock Canyon, Lake Mead, all those places, Hoover Dam. There's so much to do and see, both as far as metropolitan things and then things outside of the city. That it's just an ideal location.
And we drove around and looked at a couple of campgrounds and scoped out where we'd stay if we were there in the RV. And so up above in this video, you'll see a link to the video on our RV free vacation. But what I included in there is some footage of some RV campgrounds, both military, there's an Air Force base there, and regular off-base private campground. So the last thing that we want to talk about is some highlights in terms of activities, like what are the most enjoyable things that we did at the different places. And for me this year, I was kind of like trying to do a lot of new things. So I did things like indoor skydiving with my son. I went zip lining by myself. It was the first time I had ever done that. I tried stand-up paddleboarding. But my favorite activities are really hiking. And so I went on this amazing hiking trail in Tennessee. And again, I'll put a link up here to the video. It is called Window Cliffs. It's a new hiking area that just started in April of this year. It's near a more common one, which I did both hikes in one day, so it's totally doable, called Burgess Falls. Burgess Falls was awesome because you just walk along the side of the river, and there are 3 different waterfalls, and each one is bigger until you get to this real grand one, the third one at the end. And also at the end where that huge waterfall is, you see these amazing cliffs. And then when you get back to the parking lot, you just drive, like, I think it was maybe 5 miles away to Windows Cliffs, which is this new area that they just opened, and you can actually hike and climb up, not like rock climbing with like ropes and stuff. I haven't ever done that, but just, you know, physically kind of climb a little bit up to the top of the cliff. And I have that footage in my video, and it was absolutely amazing. That was 4th of July weekend, and it was hot, but it wasn't unbearable. Still, hands down, the highlight of my year was that hiking trip. What about you?
I think my favorite is the Presidential Library passport tour that we did. When you go to the presidential libraries, you can ask at the desk for a passport. I think it costs like $7 or something. And then as you go to the presidential libraries, you get a stamp, just like if you went to different countries in your regular passport. And being a fan of history, it's really neat to go to the presidential libraries, and it's not just a library with books. It's actually more like a museum with a lot of historical information on the particular presidents and how they grew up, how they lived during the presidency, and then what they did after their presidencies. And we actually went to the FDR Presidential Library up in Hyde Park, New York. We were up there for a wedding, and it also has his childhood home, and he actually worked out of the office in the presidential library during his presidency, and then after his presidency as well. And I think the cool thing was also there's a lot of land around there where there were other homes that you could tour and a farm.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was really neat. We had a good time there. We went in the summer. I'm not sure how fun it would be in the winter time, but particularly now. But it was a good time, and we look forward to hitting more of the presidential libraries in our travels.
Yeah, and Sean found out. Did you tell him when you finished the passport?
Oh yeah. So when you finish the passport and you send it in, they send you a gift. So a nice gift. It's
like
not
a commemorative type thing.
Yeah. So it's not just like some plastic trinket or whatever. This year it was, I think they told me it was like a silver paperweight with like the presidential seal on it. I'm not sure if that's completely correct. Maybe I dreamed it, but they do give you a nice gift at the end of after you finish all the presidential libraries.
And some of the presidential libraries have different discounts. Like, we are disabled veterans, so we were able to get in for free.
Yep.
They're different. Some of them, they consider them to be like federal registered landmarks, and so some of them will allow you to use your America the Beautiful pass. So just always ask before you go in one. But yeah, we're definitely looking forward to going around to the other presidential libraries as we travel.
Yeah.
And that pretty much wraps up our 2017. So just to kind of talk a little bit about where we're going in 2018. 2018 is going to be an exciting year for us. First off, we're leaving Florida after the RV Tampa show. We're going to that first, so let us know if you're going to be there. We'd love to meet you. After that, at the end of January, we're going to start heading out of Florida. We're going to stop in Pensacola for a couple weeks. We met at Eglin Air Force Base, Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is right near Pensacola, so it'll be nice for us. And then we're headed out to Texas. We're going to the RV Entrepreneur Summit in Fredericksburg, Texas, which is a beautiful place. We've been to the area before because we were both stationed in Texas on a couple different occasions. And then we're going to San Antonio. Tell them why.
Why?
You know why we're going to San Antonio.
Oh, our kids two of our sons live in San Antonio. So we're going to spend a couple months hanging out with them and spending some time and maybe looking at some land around the central Texas area, the hill country. So yeah, it should be a fun time. It's always good to see the kids.
And then we're going to leave there and head up to Denver, where we're going to meet up with the other RV nomads from the movie RV Nomads and do some filming. And then we're heading out to Northern Virginia, back to Fort Belvoir, for a wedding. Our oldest son.
Our oldest son's getting married in June, so we'll be there for a few weeks for the preparation and then for the wedding. So that should be another good time. And then we don't know where we're going after that.
So we hope you guys had a great 2017 and that you are planning an even better 2018. We hope that we can meet up with you somewhere along in our travels.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to mention. We did get to meet up with some fellow RVers this year too. In fact, last night we were with Maria and Kevin from Paris to Rome, and they're just an awesome couple, so we love spending time with them. And then we also, a couple weeks ago, met up with Mike and Dawn Gondek.
From Random Bits RV is their YouTube channel, and Dawn's blog is Random Bits of Trial and Error.
And they have a great YouTube series. It's called Drive, Powered by You, which highlights several different RVers. So check that out on YouTube. And then you met a couple people that I did.
Earlier this year, I was fortunate enough to meet, while Sean, on a couple of, it just happened to be a couple of the occasions that he was traveling and I didn't go with him. One time he flew out of Orlando, and so I stayed at a resort up there for 3 days to just kind of relax. And I was fortunate enough to meet Robert and Jessica and their children. They're called Exploring the Local Life, is their YouTube channel and blog. They're also RV Nomads, the movie, cast members, and they were super nice, and I can't wait for Sean to get a chance to meet them. And then another day, and here's a great tip for those of you who haven't met too many other fellow full-time RVers, I have just started following some on like Instagram and Facebook, other full-time RVers, and they have in turn followed me back. We haven't really met. So I was at Disney for the day. I posted a picture on Facebook, and within an hour, I think someone posted on there, and it was Shane and Alexi from the Simple Nomad. And they said, hey, we're going to Disney tonight too. And they said they were going to Epcot, and I was at Magic Kingdom. And I said, oh, well, I have a fast pass for this ride at Epcot tonight at 6:15. And they replied, oh my gosh, we have a fast pass for the ride at like 6:45. So we ended up meeting in front of that ride and talked to the people who run the fast pass, and they let us all go in together. And so it was Shane, Alexi, and their adorable daughter. And the four of us got to ride the ride together, and then we walked around and chatted and got to know each other. They're a terrific couple. They were a lot of fun, and they're photographers. So it's been really neat to also see how people have kind of earned their living on the road. Mm. And speaking of photographers, Maria Sipe, who we met up with for the second time, or the third time actually, last night, she took the photos that Sean and I use on our About Us page now because we love it so much. She's a great photographer too. So it's neat to see how other people are living their journey.
Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed this a little bit long video of our 2017 highlights. And if you like the video, please click the like button and please subscribe to our channel. And we hope to see you soon. Safe travels.